Hey TC fam, welcome to our sermon commentary video where Pastor Jordan and I break down the message from Sunday and just kind of unpack it and talk about what impacted us or the application for our life. So we love it that you're here with us. Hopefully you can unpack it with us at home and really see some quality life change. All right, let's get into it. See, the fact of the matter is Jesus has called us all to this life of holiness. And this life of holiness is not religion. It is not us being holier than thou. Last week, I talked about how holiness means to be set apart. And oftentimes we focus on being set apart away from certain things, but we never really think about what we are set apart for. I'm sure you've met Christians where they're like, I'm holy because I don't do this, this, and this. But the bigger question is not what you don't do, but the bigger question is, what do you do? Are you actually joining in Christ's holy work? Did you hear me? I didn't say our holy work. That's important. Are you joining and participating in His holy work? This life of offering, this life of giving, this life of serving and generosity, this life where He is setting aside His own comfort, His own agenda, His own welfare, and He's laying His life down to serve others. That is the holy work that we're called to.
So good. You know, the first thought that came to my mind when I hear the line, it's not what we don't do, it's what we do. Yeah. And in that connection with submission to Jesus, you know, I thought about how you ever wanted help from someone, but they helped you in the way that they wanted to help you, and not the way that you wanted help.
Yeah, that's what I do when my mom asks me to help her. I always try to help her the way I think she needs my help. Right. Like, Mom, listen to me. Listen to your son. Yeah.
This is how I can help you.
This is how I can help you. Yeah.
And what's so crazy is in some ways, obviously, yeah, you could be right and whatnot. But when I think about holiness, and I think about that thought of like what Jesus requires from us isn't what we think we should bring to Him. Yeah. It's what He's asking us to bring to Him.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and I think it's so challenging. I think what's so interesting also when I heard this, I was just reminded of Jesus and how in Philippians it talks about how Jesus was literally God, but He emptied every part of Himself and poured it all out and said, I just want to, He poured it out so that He could have, he equalized Himself with us, you know, and brought us in the same point. And it's almost like when you think about holiness, I think there's such a stigma that holiness is climbing this ladder. Yeah. You know, and reaching the stepping hold. But when you look at Christ, it's this opposite. It's this opposite perspective. And then when you think about us and tying this all together, thinking about how it's not a matter of what we think we want, that we qualify as serving God. Yeah. It's a matter of what God asked for us. And then it's only from that point of what God asked for us or what He needs from us that I think that whole process of holiness actually begins. Yeah. You know.
And the thing is people got to understand that we're not talking about salvation.
Yeah.
We're not talking about our justification. Yeah. We're not talking about our righteousness. Mm-hmm. We know that we have been justified through Christ's work at the cross. Yes. We are made righteous through our faith in Christ at the cross, the Lord of our life. Yeah. But holiness, actually, we can decide. Yeah. We can be Christians that are like, you know what, I'm saved. Jesus has I'm kind of gonna meander through this faith, but holiness is a decision that we choose every day if we are going to walk out who He created us to be. Yeah. You know what it makes me think about is football coaches. All right, you get drafted to a team or you get put on a team, and you're a part of that team. Yeah. That part is done. Yeah. But that doesn't mean the work is over.
Totally.
Right, and every day that coach is going to make you more of who you are required to be as a member of that team. Totally. He is going to drill into you the things that you need to do. He is going to scrub out and chisel down the things that are hurting you or hurting the team. Yeah. Right? And it is absolutely self-sacrificial because it is no longer about you. Yeah. It is about the team. Totally. Right? And holiness is one of those things where we all have to kind of come to that reality That holiness means that we have decided that it isn't about us anymore.
Yeah.
Holiness is when we have acknowledged that we are now saved and a part of the body of Christ. That we now have a greater calling. We now have a greater purpose that we have become aware of.
Yeah.
Will we choose to participate in the work that Jesus wants to do? Just like as an athlete, will you choose to participate in the work your coach wants to do? Yeah. And you hear about athletes all the time that are like super, like rock star, selfish. They don't listen to instructions. They don't let the coaches coach them. They don't have a teachable attitude. They don't pass. They don't play as a team, right? Crazy. They're still a part of the team, but they have not yet chosen to play as a team, to think about the team, to grow, to have a teachable heart. That's what holiness looks like in our faith. Are we going to be mature enough in our faith, in our justification, in our righteousness to say, hey, I know it's not about me anymore. It's about the team. It's about the body. Right? And I'm going to continue to serve the body. I'm going to continue to lay down my life for the body. And why am I doing that? Because that's what Christ is doing. And I want to do what he's doing. Right? I'm going to follow his lead. I'm going to participate in his work. Right? And I'm going to submit myself to something bigger. Right? And we see that as holiness. And that whole idea, it comes from the offering system. Right? In the Old Covenant, we know that what was ever put on the altar then became holy.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you put an offering on the altar of God, it becomes holy. So now what do? We put our lives on the altar of God. We lay down ourselves as an offering. We lay down our perspective. We lay down our vision. We lay down our dreams. We lay down our attitude. We lay down our time as an offering to God. And then we see it become holy. And that's really, really cool. Right?
That's beautiful. I love that. Laying down. Yeah, that's so good.
You know, I always think about trust in the context of relationship, and I think about how it takes a long time to create trust in relationships, doesn't it? It takes a long time to build up equity and knowing somebody and them knowing you for you to actually believe their words, believe that they're going to follow through with big commitments. And the greater the commitments, the greater the trust that is required. And I'm going to tell you right now, the commitment to participate in the work of Christ is absolutely a big commitment. It's not an easy calling. It takes a real heart revelation of what Jesus has called you to. Listen to me. I am not saying that this is nice and easy. I am saying this requires humility and a sacrifice of your pride and the voice inside your head that says, I know best.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's freaking intense.
You know, when I think through my life, because you're talking about trust, right? And I think Jesus is so graceful that he would, in the times that I'm untrusting for him in the process of a holy work he's trying to do in my life, he's so graceful to still give me breadcrumbs of grace to supply other parts of my life to make me feel like, you know, oh,
like little by
like,
little.
yeah, little by little. And then it's like little breadcrumbs that he's like, okay, like I'm just, you know, I'm kind of helping you. It's kind of like someone learning to swim, you know, and it's like a dad in the water carrying their kids like an extra 2 meters closer to the deep end, but they're like, oh, you know, I'm barely standing on my toes. Okay, well, let's go back, you know, and then there, and it's like that process that I feel like I've seen in my life. Like Jesus has been so graceful at the times that he's wanting to work through me these extraordinary truths of reliance on him in moments that I've had to step outside of myself and grow myself and grow my capacity. But sometimes I've seen myself and my humanity, you know, freak out because like what you said, trusting Jesus is really hard. And trusting his holy work in my life is really hard because I think it's dying to the ego, it's dying to the self. It's actually growing in self-awareness of knowing if God is calling me to this, then I'm aware of my fears, but I'm also want to be aware of his faithfulness, you know? But I think that's like, sometimes I think,
Hashtag aware of your fears, aware of his faithfulness.
There you go, right? Because I think what's hard for people is we can attach this very big ethereal concept of like, yeah, let's go trust Jesus. Yeah. But then I think a lot of people are unaware of their actual things that are stopping them. Yeah. You know, I think those thoughts just come in and then it dictates their emotions and their emotions dictate their thoughts and then that's just their life. So some people never actually cross that threshold to actually trusting Jesus. But I think that's what's so incredible about Jesus is that sometimes I think because some people are so unaware, he just, you know, he keeps giving some like little breadcrumbs to say, hey, you know, like you might have fallen here, but I still have a better hope for a bigger life for you, and there's something more.
Yeah. It's crazy how the more you trust, the easier it is.
Yeah.
It's like you think about relationship, right? Like falling in love is really easy.
Yeah.
But staying in marriage and staying in love is hard.
It's hard.
But one of the biggest deal breakers is trust.
Yeah.
When you really trust the person you're with, it's easier to serve. Yeah. It's easier to extend yourself. It's easier to give things up for the sake of the relationship or them or the marriage, right? Yeah. Because you trust. Yeah. You trust that they are committed to you like you're committed to them. You trust that they are good, that they are kind, that they have the best for you, right? They believe the best for you, that they are for you. Yeah. You have this trust, and because of that, it's easier to sacrifice, it's easier to serve, it's easier to offer. Yeah. But when that trust is void, it's much harder. Yeah. It can feel almost forced. Yeah. And that's why when Peter is talking about the holiness that we're called to, he says it starts with that revelation of Jesus Christ. Yes. That we can trust in him. Yeah. I think that when you're struggling with, when I'm struggling with this idea of putting on humility versus pride, right? Putting on service versus self-service, putting on trust in Jesus versus trust in myself. I think the biggest thing is that, do I trust Jesus in this work? Yeah. Why don't I trust him? Reflecting on how faithful he's been. Yeah. Reflecting on what he's already done, how he's already shown up, and then focusing on that, allowing that to be my focal point, and then moving forward. Yeah. Like what you described as breadcrumbs, right? Yeah. Tracing back the breadcrumbs and going, look at what he's already done. Totally. And shown me how I can really trust in him. Yeah. And if I lay down my life, if I offer in this way, if I serve in this way, I'm not going to get hurt. Yeah. I'm not going to get, whatever. Yeah. The rug isn't going to be pulled out from under me. Yeah. Right? Because I think that that's what's behind it a lot of the time, right? We're so afraid. We're so afraid of losing something. Yeah. Right? And Jesus is like, it's okay to lose everything because I got you. Right? So but it starts with that trust. It starts with that revelation of just who Jesus is, and his kindness and his commitment to who you are. Yeah, that's so good. Right?
And I think, what's so hard for humans is a desire to trust that'll produce quick, tangible results. Yeah. And I think whenever people want to, to step forward into trusting God and trust, I'll paint a scenario, right? So let's say, a scenario is, one spouse wants to forgive their other spouse for something they did, and whatever that spouse did, it's just whatever. But in this situation, obviously spouse A is emotionally could be having a hard time with either really internally forgiving spouse B. So maybe it's a day-to-day struggle that they're like, man, God, help me forgive again today. Maybe it's a week-to-week struggle. Like sometimes they have good days, sometimes they're reminded of the situation that maybe this spouse said, this spouse did, this spouse thought, And then obviously that stuff comes up. But the beautiful thing about if this person would say, every day, Jesus, I just want to trust you, the beautiful thing is that as Christ really works through that process, to me, I feel like I've seen Jesus do this in people's life, and they have a really deep work through their life. The way I'm trying to say it is like this. I think if this person tried to say, oh yeah, I trust Jesus, and they did it on their own work, it'd be a very shallow belief. That I think as soon as person
it'd be a shallow forgiveness.
It'd be a shallow forgiveness that they could get through once, but then another situation could come up. Yeah. And because another situation comes up and this person could mess up, the other spouse or a business partner or someone could mess up, then because that forgiveness was based off them and it's a shallow forgiveness, well, then they're going to have an even harder time going through this next process.
Yeah, because it's not healed all the way.
Exactly.
It's like still a wound.
Exactly.
It's not really healed and a scar, right?
Exactly.
And then the next time that happens, they're just going to be re-reminded, and it's going to hurt even more.
Totally.
But when you say, Jesus, I trust you.
Yeah.
I trust that you have my heart.
Yes.
So I can I can give my heart to this person in forgiveness.
Yes.
Because it's not them that I'm trusting in. I'm trusting in you.
Yes.
That you're going to be the one to protect me. That you're going to want to heal me. You're going to be the one to restore me.
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Right. And that is what makes a difference. You're right.
Totally. And that's, to me, that's what's going to make a not only a healed heart, but a healthier and a stronger heart for anything else that could happen, you know, whether it is with this person or maybe this couple gets through it. But then what if another thing happens? Like when a kid says something, your own kid says something that, you know, your family breaks apart, or like it's a family member does something, you know, it's something that, to me, I feel like when I see a heart that's really gone through this process with Jesus, it's a heart that might be humbled, but it's a stronger heart. Because to me, it's also a heart that's like, I got through this really intense situation, but I feel so much more full and whole and emotionally healthy because of Jesus. So in the next thing I go through, you know, I feel like Jesus is going to have me again.
That's
you
right.
know, it's a stronger process.
That's right.
Where again, if it's just like, oh yeah, you know, I'll forgive Jesus, but in the back of our heads, you know, we haven't really had the hard conversation with Jesus, or we're like, yeah, I'm just checking boxes to get through something.
Yeah.
You know, the more I've seen things in my life personally, and it's hard to think of examples, but there's just a clear difference between Jesus doing a really deep, holy work through every part of my life. Right? Like when we talk about as a living sacrifice, offering up every part of my life before Jesus, versus the times that I'm like, I'll just give this part of my life for Jesus. And the difference is a sense of like humility, like what you said, it's a sense of trust, but it's also, to me, it's like the sense of strength that's based off of God's strength. That's like, I just feel I'm going to be okay because Jesus took me through so much here. He's going to take me through so much here, you know?
And Jordan, that actually is a conversation you and I have a lot about, like life and career and future and security. And it goes back to like what are we doing this all for, right? As pastors, as ministers, when we think about our family and the financial security of our kids and all this stuff going forward. Right, our own personal dreams and ambitions, but it's like, here it is. It's that question of trust. Jesus, do I trust you that you want something good for me? Do I trust that you care about my kid's future? Do I trust that you care about my dreams, my ambitions, my desires? Do I trust you with this? And if I trust you, can I trust that you will bring these things about in my life? That you will fulfill these things? Or that you will show me what it does look like. Like, do I trust that you are active, God? Do I trust that you will work and you will show me and speak to me in the time when it's right? You know what I mean? And that's tough. You know, it's like, I think about that all the time. You know, because there's always tension. There's always frustration with, you know, and you know, Janae and I always have good seasons and bad seasons. As far as what we believe God is doing or calling us to or where we are. I mean, we live in Jakarta. We've been in Jakarta for 10 years now. And it's like, is this where we're going to be forever? Is this where our kids are going to grow up? We have all those questions. And sometimes you are so tempted to take back control and say, no, I'm going to do this my way. I'm going to go back to what my strategy or my agenda would be. But then that's the humility and that trust to say, Jesus, I trust you. I'm going to continue to offer my life to whatever you have for me. I'm going to continue to submit to whatever you see. I'm going to continue to serve without thinking about what I'm getting in return. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to trust that you care about me and you have goodness for me. Right? And that is the scariest thing ever.
Yeah. So scary. And it's so, I mean, it just goes back to the word trust. Just a deep trust with Jesus.
A deep trust.
Jesus, like,
a deep trust.
And it's a daily trust.
It's a moment by moment
It's a moment by moment trust.
And it's a constantly going back to him saying, Jesus, are you sure? Like, am I missing something here? Am I, you know what I mean? And then like, come on, like, okay, I'm going to trust you again.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
And to me, that's why I think I love your sermon, because the thing with holiness is that it's not this easy process.
No.
You know, if it was, then we could just do our checklist.
Yeah.
And just do the things that we as humanity has prescribed as holiness, because it's our attempt at an easier life.
Well, I think that's why the clergy of the ages have kind of turned that into holiness, because it is easier, it is simpler, it is more concrete. And we can just grab onto it and we can say, hey, you want to be a good person? Here's 10 steps to holiness. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But it doesn't really require anything from our hearts.
Yeah. No, that's
Right?
right. That's right. Yeah. That's so good. Yeah, man.
But in my maturity, I'm thankful that I finally got to the point where I accepted what I needed above what I wanted. See, religion will give you what you need. You don't need to trust when it comes to religion because you do what you want and you go after what you want. But holiness in Jesus, faith, it gives you what you need. That's the difference. We have to learn to surrender and not go over what we want from God, but surrender to Jesus and trust that as we obey him, he will give us what we need.
So religion gives us what we want, but faith gives us what we need.
Yeah.
And I think holiness moves through faith.
Yeah.
So that's, I think in a practical sense, I feel like we should play a game.
Yeah.
And the game that we should play is, well, we're going to do this. The game is this. We're going to describe as many aspects of a religious person or religiosity or a religion. I almost want to say we want to see how many aspects of religious holiness we can describe versus holiness with Christ.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we should, that's the game. And so I feel like, I don't know, we should go back and forth. You name one, I name one, you name one, I name one.
Yeah, so I think like a good thing when you are living with religion, I think that's the thing. Religion gives you what you want. So you get to kind of pick and choose.
You pick people that pick and choose.
People that pick and choose.
People,
I love Revelations. We should be teaching Revelations at church because this is important, right? I love these attributes. Why don't we talk more about discipleship? Why don't we do this? So you are choosing things that are somehow that you're about, that may not benefit anyone else or the body, but you like them, you're passionate about them, so you're obeying those things. You're choosing to build your life on those things. Right? And it's like I get to be the kind of Christian I want to be. Right? Versus the kind of Christian that Jesus is calling you to be.
So good.
Right? I think that's a big one.
I think it's a big one. I feel like anything that's performance-based is religious holiness, because it's almost like it's the thing about performance-based lifestyle. It's always like a system of checks and balances. So like it kind of goes in hand with like the whole pick and choose thing, but it's kind of like if you didn't choose what you originally wanted to pick, well, you have to feel like you have to make up for it somehow. And then if you don't make up for it, you usually walk around very like agitated. You know?
And that's on both sides. Performance on both sides.
Yeah, totally.
Good performance, like I'm awesome. Look at what I've done.
Look at what I've done. Totally.
And if you haven't performed, you're so insecure. You're so unworthy, which is like false humility. Right? And it's like performance is like performance-based faith is 100% the way to get offended.
Totally.
Because you're always the person that has given so much, and other people have not given as much as you have. They haven't returned it. They haven't reciprocated. Even God, you've given so much. Even God hasn't reciprocated. I've given so much to you, God. You haven't given me anything. You know, we think that we've outworked more than Jesus. So then we're entitled. And instead of just saying like, whoa, Jesus hasn't given me this. And instead of us becoming bitter, right, we need to trust him. But anyway.
No, that's good.
I would say like that's a huge one. What's another one? When you're walking out like religion, black and white, right and wrong.
This is right according to my standard.
This is right. This is wrong. That's it. Right. There's two things, and guess what? I'm right. Not only is this right and this wrong, but I'm the one that's right. This is the way of faith. This is the way of holiness. This is the way of the scripture. This is the way to do church. This is the way, right? That is religious.
It's so good.
You
know what that makes me think of? A victim mentality.
I
feel like religious people are also huge victims. To like what?
The world.
To the world. So like, I've done so much. Why are Christians always suffering? Why are Christian businessmen always, we feel like, we're at the bottom, and then sometimes I'm like, maybe, you don't manage your finances well.
Exactly.
It's like, I feel like they religious people play on the side of like being a victim
Always.
to things, and it's a victim to like, if they're a victim to the people that are wronging them and using God to justify them.
And then they look for more religious steps to get out of being a victim.
Totally.
Like what you just said, my business is failing.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of taking a marketing course and better managing finances, right? Yeah. Maybe instead of doing that, I'm going to read a book on tithing. Yeah. And I'm going to check every tithe religious box. Yep. And then I'm going to wait for God to bless my business because I manipulated him with my tithe. Totally. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Totally. It all comes from that victim mentality. Yeah, religion.
Yeah. Victim slash almost be even like manipulation. Mm-hmm. You know, huge.
Yeah, because you're not really a victim, but you're playing the victim card to get that sympathy, to manipulate some response. Yeah. Totally. Right? Yeah. Really intense. What about living authentically? Living authentic faith, humility, trust, participating in God's holy work, which requires selflessness, which requires denying your pride. Yep. What does that look like?
I don't know. I just don't think that looks like people in religious holiness. You know, like I don't see that. You know, authentic faith.
I think it looks like mystery.
Yeah.
It looks like being okay with mystery.
Yeah.
Being okay with ambiguity. Being okay with not having all the answers.
Yeah.
Being okay with being able to say, I don't understand this part of the Bible, and that's okay. Yeah. Because I don't have to have everything figured out. Totally. I don't have to have everything figured out to trust God, because He's a person, not a book. I love that. Yeah. I think that's a big one. Yeah. What else?
You know, I think when it comes to holiness with Christ, right? I think I love that you talked about if a religious mindset stays on the side of black and white, but someone that is just a faith in Christ is people comfortable with gray. Yeah. You know, I think another thing that I think is holiness with Christ is also, it's like I love that you said not authentic faith, because I think an authentic faith is one that is okay with their failure. Yeah. You know, like I think religious people aren't okay with failure. I think people that are understand the holiness of Christ, like their sense of, they're okay with failure, because it's like they just understand that it's only by faith.
That's right.
And it's only by grace. They're so much at peace, and they're like, oh.
The focus isn't perfection.
Yeah, the focus is not perfection.
The focus is forgiveness, restoration, and healing.
Totally.
Right? But you're not trying to achieve some sort of perfect standard.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And that's so good, Jordan, because I feel like I talk to people when they do fail morally, when we all fail morally. Yeah. And that's always the first response, is how to not do this again. Yeah. Isn't that what we crave? Totally. How to do this again. Yeah. But the first response should be throwing ourselves at the feet of Jesus and saying, Jesus, I just need you. Yeah. I need your help. Yeah. I need your healing. Yeah. I need what you have for me. Yeah, that's it. Instead of me dictating the terms of my restoration, which those terms are me never failing again, which is ridiculous. We're gonna do that again. We should just allow Him to dictate the terms and say, we're at the feet of your throne of grace. Yeah. Whatever you have for me, that's what I want. Yeah, that's so good. And I'm not gonna pursue my own desires, my own ambitions anymore. That's so good. I just want what you have for me. Yeah. That's a big difference.
That's a huge difference. And I think the difference, it's just such a, it's weird. It's like, I think when people think of the word humble, I think still, even though we've preached about humility is a strength, it's a great thing. I think a lot of people look at it as a weakness, you know. Yeah. But you know, when I see that, I've always seen when people are humble, they're also able to go through harder situations, but still be so confident, but calm throughout the whole thing.
100%.
You know.
100%.
Yeah, because like I feel like that's like when we follow Jesus in the whole aspect of holiness to Christ, it's like people, when I think I'm getting tongue twisted, but usually religious people freak out in really intense situations. Yeah. You know, and they go back to like any sense of security off of any religious patterns they have. Yeah. But it's like someone that's really just gone through things with Jesus and are okay with mystery, they just have such an emotional capacity and calmness through hardship, because they've been humbled, but their humility has made them strong to understand that, you know, they can move through the cracks and through the weaving and all those things,
and they can trust Christ through the hardship.
100%. You know, they just trust Jesus, and they're like, yeah, Jesus, I'm going to be okay.
And I
do
think
this.
one thing I know is like when we're talking about religious versus like real holiness, right?
Yeah.
Is religion loves talking about religion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Like they love, like religion loves talking about right and wrong and this, like whatever, like religious concept idea.
Yeah.
Usually they call it theology.
Yeah.
But holiness, really holiness is actually really living it out.
Yeah. Totally.
Right? It's that posture of service, the posture of commitment, the posture of offering, where you're just looking for ways to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
You're not demanding them that they come to you and whatever, but you're going where they are. You're meeting them in their context and you're getting to know them.
Yeah.
You're listening to them. You're hearing their heart. You're knowing them.
Yeah.
I think that that's a huge difference when you're really living that authentic faith in holiness as you're participating in Christ's work. Is you just become a servant of people. Yeah. And it's not about like what you think is important anymore. You're just like, this is what Jesus has shown me is important. So I'm just going to serve.
I was just so mind-blown about what you said. So it literally just made me think of Philippians 2. And Jesus was like, I just emptied all of me to come and want to serve you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
And did you notice that like Jesus, like he didn't even talk about like theological religious ideas unless it was like questioned of him by the Pharisees.
Yeah, totally.
Right? You know what he loved doing? Yeah. He literally just loved going around serving people, praying for people, talking about God's love and his kingdom. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like trying to create the space and the picture of a God that loved his people. Yeah. Right? And I think that that's so important that we understand that.
Yeah. That's
right?
so good.
Yeah. That heart of service. So yeah. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I almost want to look up in the Bible. Maybe you know this, but like, was God ever described as a father in the Old Testament?
Yeah.
He was, right?
Yeah.
I was like, trying to look it up, but I'm trying to remember where. I want to look through that because I think it's so, I thought it was always so cool that like Jesus opens up his prayer by saying, it's almost like a reintroduction to God as a father, but like, yeah, it's almost, I kind of see it as like that, like Jesus reintroducing God as a father when he says, our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. I don't know. I was just thinking about like how, like when Jesus would go around, he's just almost reintroducing the image of the Father to people. Yeah. Saying like, hey, like this, if this is the image of holiness, Jesus, well, this is what holiness looks like, reintroducing the Father's heart to people, you know, and praying for them and all that.
What a big difference in going around telling people that if they spilled yeast in their countertops, that their countertops were no longer holy.
Yeah, for real.
That's religion.
Yeah, it's religion.
Versus trying to reveal the heart of the Father to his people.
Yeah.
That's holiness.
That's holiness.
Yeah.
It's so good. That's awesome. That's crazy. So, look, guys, that is it for our Holiness series. We hope that you've enjoyed this commentary. And stay tuned for our next series that is coming up. See you guys next time. Bye.